What secret did you bury in your grandma's coffin? Everyone at the funeral kept saying what a saint my grandmother was. My uncle gave this long, tearful speech about her generosity and how she'd been the backbone of our family for decades. I sat in the back row, clutching the birthday card she'd sent me last year. Inside, beneath a generic printed message, she'd written, "Maybe this year you'll finally do something worthwhile with your life." That was classic Grandma Rose, always finding ways to cut you down while maintaining her perfect image to everyone else. As people lined up to view her body, I watched my cousins sobbing dramatically. They'd always been her favorites. When it was my turn to approach the casket, I slipped the card underneath her folded hands. Let her take her true self to the grave. 3 days after the funeral, Mom called me crying. The will had been read, and Grandma Rose had left specific instructions that I receive only her old recipe box. Not the valuable antiques, not any money, not even her wedding ring that she'd always promised would be mine someday. My cousins James and Melissa split everything else. Mom was confused, but I wasn't surprised at all. Grandma Rose had been punishing me for years, ever since I dropped out of medical school. Doctors don't quit, she'd said, but then again, you never had what it takes. What Grandma Rose never knew was that I'd seen her medical records. I worked as an administrator at her doctor's office before med school, and curiosity got the better of me one day. Her file revealed she'd been prescribed antipsychotics in the 70s, something she'd hidden from the entire family. The perfect matriarch had secrets of her own. At the post-funeral gathering, Melissa cornered me in the kitchen. "I'm sorry about the will," she said, not looking sorry at all. "But Rose always said you were the disappointment." I just nodded and poured another drink. 2 weeks later, I finally opened the recipe box. Inside were dozens of handwritten recipe cards, yellowed with age, but underneath them all was an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a letter, dated just days before her death. "I know you saw my medical records. I've always known. That's why I could never trust you. Some secrets should stay buried, like the fact that your mother isn't really your mother. She couldn't have children, so they adopted you. No one knows except me. Now you have a secret to keep too." My hands shook as I read it. I immediately called Mom, who broke down crying when I asked her directly. It was true. They'd adopted me as an infant and never told me. "We were going to tell you when you turned 18, she sobbed, "but then your father died, and it never seemed like the right time." I was furious they'd kept this from me for 32 years, but I was even more angry at Grandma Rose for using it as her final weapon. A month later, James invited me to dinner, supposedly to clear the air about the inheritance. As we ate, he casually mentioned he was selling Grandma's house. "It's worth $700,000, he bragged. "Melissa and I are splitting it." I nodded and asked if he'd found the safe yet. His fork froze halfway to his mouth. "What safe?" I smiled. "The one behind the painting in her bedroom. The one with all the cash." There was no safe, of course, but the panic on his face told me everything. 2 days later, Melissa called me in a rage. They'd torn apart the walls looking for a safe that didn't exist. They'd damaged the house so badly they had to reduce the selling price by $50,000. I laughed after hanging up. Sometimes revenge is sweeter than inheritance. Last week, I finally visited Grandma Rose's grave. I brought the recipe box and buried it right next to her headstone. Let her keep her secrets. I'm done keeping them for her. As for the adoption revelation, it actually brought Mom and me closer. We talk more honestly now than we ever did before. Sometimes the cruelest intentions can lead to unexpected healing, but I'll never forgive Grandma Rose for trying to use the truth as a weapon instead of a gift. Some people take their bitterness to the grave, but they don't realize how much lighter we feel once they're gone.